Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's your boy Dame Dozha here with my brother
DJ Deceptacon.
and this is another episode of the Word on the Net podcast. We on location today. We had to go get it, but this one is one worth getting. To say the least, this guy has history that goes back generations in hip hop music and music period, and I'm very excited because I've been learning a lot from watching his takes on the internet, and I'm sure that you guys will be able to learn a lot from this conversation that we have here. Well, how about you, Sep?
Yeah, man. Look, so I've been following our guest, who we're about to announce in a minute, for quite some time now, and his history just kind of stands for itself. But his takes on the music industry lets you know he's not only on the inside, but also knowledgeable. He's not just a sideline player. You feel me? He really knows his stuff, and he knows how to get from point A to point B in the industry. He knows what's right with the industry, what's wrong with the industry, what needs to be fixed, and what they do the right way. And he's not afraid to call it out. So that's the important part about it, and what I really admire about him is he doesn't care what the consequences are. It's the truth has to be told. Yeah, and that's the important thing about the industry. The truth has to be told if we're going to fix anything with the industry the way it is now.
Yeah.
So
and there are consequences.
Yes, there are consequences, and we're seeing those consequences.
Sorry,
unfortunately,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. We're seeing these consequences day by day. We're seeing them, and it's apparent at this point. They're trying to shut them up, but we're not going to let them.
And also, I'll just add that he cares.
True.
Our guest today, I could say that I feel that all of us really care about the culture, about the music industry as a whole, and just about folks now being entrepreneurs finding a way in this murky waters that we have as a music industry today. I would like to introduce, well, not necessarily introduce, but welcome you guys to a conversation with Damian Young, a.k.a. DaMizza, record producer, radio exec, and more. We're about to learn a lot today. DaMizza in the building, man. Word on the Net podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate you guys coming all the way over here. I apologize. I didn't.
Pleasure, bro.
I would have come over to you if they didn't have. It wasn't so busy.
Well, technically you did because you came from the West Coast.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm here for the Indie Filmmakers Weekend.
Oh, nice.
And that's what brought me here. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do that, then let me try to do all of this music stuff while I'm here.
Right.
So, and I know you guys know Montega the Mobster.
For sure.
So I
got
drug
a mixtape coming out soon.
Yes, and that was the next thing. He has been bragging about the mixtape that you guys are making, and so I kidnapped him last night, took him over to Jermaine's at So Def. We had a great conversation with Jermaine and his team over there, and it was great, man.
For sure.
It was a good time.
Yeah, so he's an artist, a mentor, a mentee.
Yeah, when I first started this thing, that's what's been so cool about it, is meeting people like you. You know what I mean? Like I have this whole new batch of friends that I've met through Instagram over this time. And, Montega was one of the first people to hit up, and it was so cool. He said, look, I don't know. All I know is that you seem to get it, and I should learn from you.
Real.
So,
Real.
and that's great. I mean, that's what artistry and that's what mentorship is about, is being able to be comfortable enough with yourself and your own skin to be able to hit up people and say, hey, show me that game. Right. Show me this. And that's what I was doing last night. I was going to Jermaine, the OG on my block, and saying, boss, what the fuck are we doing?
Right,
you know what I
real,
mean? Like,
real.
what's going on with music from your perception, not just what you're posting, but as friends, we've known each other for 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel about it? And I'm bringing one of the young cats, and Quentin was there too. So it was really cool to have the different
generations.
Generations. You know what I mean? You have a Jermaine, you have a Quentin, you have a Tega, you have me, and all different perspectives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of what's going on. It was just such a cool debate.
That's lit.
I like the way that Jermaine has been getting on Instagram or live period just to address whether it's political, whether it's the street promotions that he was talking about just the other day. he's really not only concerned, but addressing one of the OGs that we have in the game that's addressing the issues firsthand. He's making himself available at all sorts of forums to have a conversation. And that's something that we're not really used to. In the 90s and early 2000s, it was a different mystique. There was a different wall that you had to break upon to get this information. And now people like you and Jermaine and others are actually giving the information, and really y'all are giving it for free.
Well, and what's really dope about it is I see this coalition coming together. You have Teddy Riley, you have Timbaland, you have Jermaine, you have me, you have Damon Thomas, you have, just all of these producers, along with the young Cypress Morenos and Mixed by Crooks, and, a lot of these younger cats too. Right. That are coming to the table and being like, half of them are saying, why doesn't my shit sound like that? Right. Like Tega said that at one point last night. He saw the studio, he saw everything, and he was like, wait a minute. So my stuff doesn't sound on the level of your stuff because of rooms like this?
Rooms and equipment.
And like that.
I talked to him about it. I'm so glad you did that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Awesome.
But from an artist's point of view, I think sometimes they think of it just from a financial perspective. Right. It's really expensive to get a nice studio and do it in a nice place, hire a good engineer, track everything right, break everything out right, and just not slam it with some plugins and wish it well and throw it through Landier. You know what I mean? Like, there's a craft to it.
I try to tell people all the time when they come to the studio, they kind of walk in and they're like, oh, yeah, y'all did a good job. It looks really nice. And I'm like, yeah, you don't even know. Like, I ran the electrical wires in the wall. I had the foreman the job. Like, we spent $200
and the sound treatment and
the floating floor,
floating floors. Like, I actually found out what they make the rubber U-boats out of to save money. I found out what it's like 30 durometer nano something. I forgot what it was called.
See, you're one of those scientific guys. That went right over my head.
But look, I saved like $1.50 per square, per 2-inch square of floating floor material just because I went and found what they made it out of and got it laser cut, like water jet cut, instead of actually like buying rubber U-boats and shipping them in.
That's dope.
So it's like, that's the type of stuff that I looked into before we built this studio, from having closet studios, house studios, storage room studios. Like, my first studio was in a storage room. You know what I'm saying? It was at a storage location in Tallahassee, Florida. They did an amazing job with it, though. It was my first thing that I kind of took over. It was a management situation. So I was managing the studio. They were like, you're a DJ. All these artists keep coming to the booth. You should manage a studio. I'm like, I have no idea how to do that, but I need a place to do my mixtape, so let's give it a shot. Then here we are, So, but it's super important, and artists don't really realize the difference. I realized it after I came to Atlanta. You know what I mean? It was like, hold on, wait a second. So I've been mixing this song for like 2 or 3 days now, hours and hours and hours on end, to try to make it sound like this. But it's because my microphone was $400. Yeah. The room was treated decently, but that was the main thing. The interface was cheap as hell. Microphone was $400. Okay, and the cables weren't right, and that was really the biggest difference.
And the microphone was $400.
And the microphone was $400. That it just blows my mind. I was like, okay, so wait, so much clarity came out of just stepping up my microphone.
Do you know what microphone Michael Jackson mainly used for Thriller?
It's this one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's the one you're talking into.
SM7B. This is a great microphone.
Yeah, great.
I mean, it's a decent. It's a $400 microphone. It's a nice.
But one of the best.
Yeah, it wasn't $400. It wasn't $400.
Back then, though, like was it?
I think they were between 4 and 6 for
4 and 6 back then too.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but I'm sure the room he was in
was Westlake and Record One.
See,
it was funny because a couple weeks ago, Paul, good friend of mine, runs Aftermath for Dre, the Record One, and we went into that back room, and there's that iconic photo of Michael Jackson, Bruce Swedian, and Michael cutting the vocals in that corner.
Nice.
Because he did most of the vocals for Thriller in that room, and then took them to Westlake for the mixing and all of that kind of stuff. And I remember seeing the pictures and just talk about the difference in recording techniques. Early days, like they had to take razor blades and splice tape, and they would have takes taped up on the wall, and it would say like Thriller Bridge take 1, Thriller Bridge take 2, Michael Lead take 3, you know, like, and they'd be taped to the windows and the walls.
That's crazy.
The windows,
Yeah.
but it's just such a different time, and sometimes, you know, as us in this time and space can get mistakenly misunderstood of complaining and saying like it's a thing of technology or moving forward. It's not being grumpy old men at the past and wanting it to go back, you know, to the way it was. It's more of just adapting with the mentorship and the wisdom of yesterday to work with the technology of today, you know, because a lot of the technology today and a lot of the young people today and a lot of the people that are making music today that are suffering in quality, it isn't because you're using the tech. The tech is amazing.
Yeah.
It's just, are you using it right?
Correct.
And if you have some of the knowledge of some of the OGs from back in the day, and that's why I like, you know, the Tega thing with Jermaine last night, I love seeing, because here you have this iconic producer that literally has done and seen it all, you know, from label executive and owning So Def and breaking the first female rap artist in the Brat, or, you know, Crisscross at 16 years old, or whatever it is. Yeah. You know, talking to a young artist or a new artist coming up in the game.
And having the #1 in this year, right?
Oh, and Money Long, what he's done with that, with even studying TikTok and then going back and changing his record to adapt to the moment. And that's just the genius of Jermaine. You know what I mean? Like adapting that, but doing the street promotion, doing the high schools, doing all of that. I mean, that record was broken traditionally, you know, and it lasted over a year
because of that.
And it was like the longest running R&B record of the year. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's great about Jermaine is he's stayed relevant in every year or every decade. He's had #1 hits.
Right. Every generation. And
Yeah.
I feel basically what we're saying is coming from yesterday in music, we realized the steps that you used to not be able to skip, and now these kids have many warp zones that they can go through, and being able to skip steps makes you want to skip all the steps, and you can't skip all the steps. Really, the steps are important for you to learn. The steps are important for your experience and for your exposure. And a lot of these kids, they just want to go straight from the studio to the platform, the content platform, to the bank.
And it's not their fault. I mean, if you stop and think about it, if you, bless you, brother, if you were a pilot of the space shuttle, an astronaut of the space shuttle, and then someone gave you the warp drive and you're in Star Trek, you doodle around with the buttons until you hit an asteroid. Do you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't know how to fly it. You'd have to navigate for a while. It would take the experience of getting to know the vessel before you could get there. But a lot of times, as producers, as artists, we're a little sensitive about our shit.
Yeah.
You know, we're a little arrogant sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, so it takes, you know, and that's what I've been trying to bring back with the Instagram thing. It's okay to ask questions. I'm even asking questions. You see me fail, you see me say something wrong, then the next day I show you, look, I made a mistake yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no ego here when it comes to it. It's about the game, you know? And one of the damaging lines that's been floating around for years is the game is to be sold, not to told.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's cool with pimping. You know what I mean? That's fine in the pimp game. You know what I'm saying? Poppy collar, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Oh, boy. But I'm just saying, in our game of music, if not, then you're going to get raped by the record company.
That's real.
Do you know what I mean? So you're either going to get assaulted if you don't have the game. And what my grandma always taught me, rest her soul, is I would rather go to the OG on the block and ask directions to the liquor store and not get shot along the way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's just what I always do. And that was even me last night. Yo, Jermaine, where the fuck are you? I'm coming by. I'm in Atlanta. I'm stopping by the studio.
That's real.
You know, like, no question, not are you available? Where the fuck you at?
Where you at? What you doing? I'm pulling up. So
And literally, he just sent the address, and I just showed up at the studio and just knocking on the door. It took him 5 minutes to get to the door because he didn't expect me to come over that fast. And Tega happened to be with me at the filmmakers thing.
Right.
So I just said, look, hop in the car, take me over there. He's like, where are we going? I'm like, we're going to Jermaine Dupri's. What? Like, like, you taking me to Jermaine Dupri's?
That's
what the fuck are you
beautiful.
doing? But it was great. And even, everybody that was there and just, that's what it's supposed to be about with mentorship with this game. It's a potluck. You know what I'm saying? Everybody bring it and then say, hey, you need to add some salt to that. You need to add some pepper to that. And that's the seasoning that makes this a collaborative effort. And that's what music was. Consistency and repetition breeds familiarity. Familiarity breeds a relationship. Relationship breeds teamwork or a jam or synergy. And synergy wins games.
Church.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
hey, that's
Church.
a breakdown.
But
That's a real
to take
breakdown.
it back to James Brown, it's jam.
Jam. It's a jam.
But basically, we appreciate your transparency. We appreciate you not only being a teacher in the game, but also still a student. And not being hesitant on learning and also giving game through the internet as well as in real life. Let's dial back a little bit in the history. From the West Side, Santa Barbara, you've had many opportunities early on as a teenager in music and made some real high-level moves early in your adolescence. Can you talk about breaking garbage?
Wow. Brand association. Watching Dr. Dre, NWA, Eazy-E, and then seeing like Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson, Herb Alpert, all of these, I noticed that the producer is the cat. If he had success, then stuff would work.
Yeah.
So I saw this name, Butch Vig, that just kept popping up in alternative, Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, all of these kind.
Those two for sure.
You know what I mean? So you see those.
The grunge era.
Yeah, the grunge. I mean, he's the producer father of that sound. Much like Spectre or any others, minus the guns, but I'm just saying, and the life term, and the hair. But no, Butch, I saw it, and then when Garbage came out, I saw it was produced by Butch Vig. So I said, let me grab 3 records off that and just start putting them in rotation. And it was Milk, Only Happy When It Rains, and Stupid Girl. And I got a call from the label right away, and they were just like, whoa, what are you doing? We sent you a demo, and you're already playing records on the radio? Like, it was just a teaser to see what you guys thought, and you're 3 records deep. And I'm like, well,
Whoops. Are you mad?
Sorry?
Are you mad or not?
Yeah. And they're like, but you're breaking the band. So if we ever come back, or, we owe you a favor for this, because now it's everybody's playing it. So, we were so close to Los Angeles, being in Santa Barbara, that people from Los Angeles would come to Santa Barbara and listen to the radio while they were here. They'd hear these records that they didn't hear anywhere else. Like I'd go on vacation in London or something, and I'd go dig through the crates, or dig through the CDs for imports and find a B-side on Smashing Pumpkins EP that was only regionally released there, and then like pennies, and then grab that and make it a current on my radio station, and then it would be like, where did you find this exclusive Smashing Pumpkins record?
Right.
So that's how I just always thought, what could be exclusive from my radio station? And when they sent me the demo, I'm like, nobody's looking for this. So if I just threw it on the radio and did 3 songs, radio programmers don't think out of the box. They think, I'm going to play what the record company sends me.
Talk about it.
And and just be the machine.
Yeah.
Well, I was raging against the machine. You know what I mean? I was always like,
no pun intended.
yeah, you know what I mean? Well, pun intended, but I'm just kidding. But I always, see, I was young. I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and had the power to make the decisions at the radio station. But I'm going to high school. So if we're at lunch at high school and I'm in the parking lot and I hear somebody bumping Guns N' Roses or Tupac, then I go, wait a minute, tonight on my show, I'm gonna play that and shout him out.
That's hip hop.
That's hip hop.
See, that's hip hop. Hip hop is the basis of I have something, I love it, I want to be able to share it.
Yep.
I want to tell somebody, hey, have you heard this?
It's gospel. Hip hop is gospel.
You know, and
It's the soul of gospel.
that is when you mix rhythm with the gossip. Because I got to tell you about this rhythm that's gonna, shake you out your sheet.
Brother, you just hit it right on the head like I've never heard somebody do it before. Like, it is the gospel. Like, it is the game. It was always the inner city's communication with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like, listen to this beat that we like Rapper's Delight or something, or even the sampling stuff in the early days from Sedgwick and, all of that kind of stuff, which were beats that were sampled from disco records. Yeah. But it was the game that they told you about on the record.
Yeah.
These are the breaks.
And
you know what I mean?
And then the message that we're going to translate through this medium, basically. Yeah.
The message itself. I mean,
bingo.
No pun intended, brother.
Right, but pun intended. Definitely pun intended. But from an early age, man, that is the essence of hip hop, that you had to be able to have access to something or gain access and go get the access and bring it back and to share it with an audience. Did you know that you were building, and breaking music?
No, I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. Like I said, it was just a kid with too much power. You know what I mean? And a really big speaker box. Yeah. You know what I mean? The radio to me was my boombox. So, and I was always a DJ. So I never related it to whether it was a party or whether it was the radio station. It was just always my thing of, let me share this jam with you. Let me, like what you're saying, let me share this gospel with you. Do you hear what this guy said? It's funny. I was talking to one of the old rock guys. I know we were talking about some of the old rock engineers and stuff before we got on. And that's one thing too, is when I very first met a lot of the old rock guys, they were like, "Oh, you do that rap shit, this, that, the other. That's not music. That's all this." And I'd be like, "Oh, well, you're starting to sound like your parents with Elvis."
Look,
and they'd look at me like, "Okay, send me some records." Yeah. So I would always do this. I'd send them "Dear Mama" by Tupac first.
Okay.
And every single time they say, "Okay, send me a couple more." I get it now. Yeah. Because they'd only hear, or they it's like with the politics or elections that we've been dealing with now. Right. They listen to a narrative. It doesn't necessarily have to be true.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's just a narrative that's out there that has the gas of gossip. Right. You know what I mean? So it's not even true. Like the thing about like internet today and social media is it's not reality. It's not us. Like all of this stuff that they're talking about on social media and the voting and all of this kind of crap, it's a caricature and a satire of life that's not really how we communicate.
Right.
Because if we take all the politics out of it and you put two people in a room, before you start talking about politics and ideals, everybody gets along.
Yep. Yeah.
Now add some music to that motherfucker. Watch what happens.
We rock it.
Yeah.
Then everybody's you could have a redneck hillbilly that's a freaking Klan member and a freaking whoever.
Militant.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over some music,
3%.
partying.
Yeah.
Then if you start talking about society and some shit, then it turns into some dumb shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, you're not even like that. I just saw you. You know what I mean? Like,
and the internet puts a supercharger onto that and makes the effects exponentially more greater as far as.
Well, look at the Karens, for instance.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You get one clip of a Karen going nuts, then it goes viral. So people's perception of it is there's millions of Karens out there.
Yeah. I think there are millions of Karens out there, though.
Well, I mean, I
think there really are.
But
of all nationalities, too, there's multiple types of Karens.
Yeah. I mean,
Caricious, there's all of them. There's a whole bunch of them.
Everybody can be that, though.
There's some assholes in the world.
There's some assholes in the world. There's some assholes in the world.
Basically.
I would say I try to stay current, if nothing else. I've considered myself old in the game for a little while now, for some years now. Like
You ain't as old as me, bro.
no, not in the least. Not in the least.
Dial that back, player. I'm not that old, motherfucker.
Back up.
Hey, yo.
Like a lot of these guys are really genius
At the
with
hardest
simplicity.
things.
Yeah.
By just being themselves. And that's what the thing is about the Instagram. Like what you were saying, like I never know what I'm going to say when I hit the button.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I just sit down, say, okay, 4 times a day I need to do this for the consistency and repetition of it.
Right.
And
Write
I'm
that
just going
down.
to tell you how I feel.
Write that down 4 times a day, people.
At least.
And so for the last, since January, every single day of my life, except for 1 or 2 when I wasn't feeling well, like I just hit the button, say what I feel in the moment.
And your consistency has not only drawn this moment to be actually into
It's
fruition.
manifesting.
Right, definitely. And I want artists to take note that this is not an artist. You know, you've done your.
What are you saying, man? I'm not an artist.
No, I mean,
I'm creative.
currently he's not
Damn,
he's
dog.
not
Damn,
he's
Like
not an
that?
aspiring artist.
He's not
Matter of fact, okay, I'm gonna rephrase my
He's
words.
a veteran artist.
He is an
Strike
artist.
that. Reverse it.
He is an artist, not an aspiring
A
artist.
seasoned artist.
So he's not necessarily in the rat race of trying to be seen, heard, but
I'm sensitive about my shit.
right. But he still understands that he has to be consistent, that he has to constantly make content, and that he has to be vulnerable and transparent at times without having an absolute plan. Right, like you just said.
Oh, it's all
sometimes
planned.
So
Tell me more about me.
and then by doing those things, you not only are going to obviously get followers, you're not only going to obviously get views, but moments like this are going to manifest.
Thank you.
People like Montega are going to flock to you, and there are so many opportunities that are going to come from just putting out content consistently. And there's so many people that
And
really
being yourself. Being
Absolutely.
your authentic
Authentic.
self.
Yeah.
Because like every morning when I get up, I have dog hair on me from wrestling with the bulldog. I'll like not cut my hair. I won't shave.
Yeah.
You get what you get every day from me. I'm not going to butter it up. I'm not going to dress different. I'm not going to tell you something one day and then change up my style the next. It just, you get what you get. You know, and just, I think that's the other thing that I've been trying to prove is whatever you are in the moment and your authentic self, that is creative.
Right.
In itself, is having that courage to be creative in every moment and not having to censor yourself and not being influenced by this crazy world that tells you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way, you have to fit into this square peg in a round hole, you have to be like that. Nah, you don't. And that's what this the one thing that I can say of this Instagram thing has proved. If you are yourself, you'll draw a lot of hate.
Yeah.
But if you are yourself and authentic, it will spread.
genuine energy definitely is attractive.
Now, have you transferred over to TikTok at all?
I've done a little bit on TikTok, but it's, you know, we all have our thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I just like interfacing with Instagram better. Most of my peers are there. It's harder to attract on TikTok to me. And I don't know. The feel of it, Instagram has just been a better feel for me.
Understood.
You know, and my friend Yulia, who now teaches at the Grammy Museum, social media, is the one that turned me on to it. She showed me about the captions and why you do the captions. And just so y'all know, the reason why you put the captions on it is because a high percentage of people who are at work or on subways or noisy places and stuff like that, when they watch your videos, they watch the subtitles if they can't hear you.
Right.
But if they can't hear it and you don't have the subtitles and all of that, then they just scroll past.
Yeah, that's just
So it's really about engagement and keeping people engaged. Sorry to.
No,
absolutely.
We want people to learn. Every time you open your mouth and speak on the internet, there's a learning experience. So we appreciate that. You've had a number of titles: record producer, radio show exec, producer. What title of yours do you enjoy the most?
None of them. And let me tell you why. Because the reason why I did a little of everything, I'm a master of nothing, but I know a little of everything. And the reason why is when I was coming up, especially in hip hop and the music business, because I have ADHD and I was bipolar and dyslexic, and told from the time I was 5 years old that I was different and I'd never make it, and being a white boy in hip hop when Vanilla Ice came out, and all of these things, there were so many barriers where they told me that I couldn't make it, and so many times they would say, you can't do it because you don't know blank. So I wanted to know a little bit about everything so that no one could ever tell me you don't know because you never blank. And I think it really, if you think about the universe and just kind of how it works, it was for this moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because now if I go on Instagram and say something, who can say something about it? Because I've been there, I've done that. So the president of Universal can't say nothing to me because he was my local trying to work records to me when I was 14 years old, and I gave him a shot. You know what I mean? So I can call him and say, it was funny. I tell a joke that one of the label heads recently, I called him up and I'm like, man, you guys are, man. And he's like, what? And I said, I was talking to your old lady last night. He's like, what? And I said, yeah, she's always said you're on the bottom during sex because all you could do is fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And you're fucking the industry up. You know what I mean? Like, but he can't say anything because we have a 30-year, 40-year history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, but that's the thing is it's like, whether it's Jermaine and I could take a Montego over there, just knock on the door and say, hey, Jermaine, come tell us some game. It's because of that experience. And because Jermaine has watched me go through all of these things. Doesn't matter whether it's working with pop artists, R&B artists, urban artists, drunk artists, sober artists, mentally, unstable artists, or, ones that need help. We've been through all of it, interventions and substance abuse, and there's nothing that I have not seen or dealt with, whether personally or professionally. So it's all led up to this moment to be able to be that platform so that people can accurately ask those questions and have a good answer. And somebody who's transparent enough that says it enough to where if I make a mistake, I will tell you so that you can trust that source. And that's what's wrong with, and this is what Jermaine and I were talking about. There's no one source of information of saying this is how you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that coalition, what I was saying about before, with that coalition coming together, you're seeing us realizing that we're the elders now that Quincy, rest in peace, and a lot of these guys are retiring. Now it's Battle Cat. It's Teddy, it's Tim, it's me, it's Jermaine, that we have to take the responsibility as elders, Gip, everybody, rest in peace, Rico Wade, and get together and say, wait a minute, okay, shit's fucked up.
Right.
Now, it is our duty to step up and fix this.
Now, real quick, since you mentioned Quincy, or Mr. Jones, I should say.
The Bows.
Do you feel like his passing was kind of washed over?
Hugely.
Okay, because I thought it was just me, but
because
I've seen local rappers that have passed away in the recent year.
Look,
that
nobody
got way more coverage, and I'm just like, yo, I didn't see the only person on my entire timeline that I saw that said there was two people, you and him.
That's crazy. Because look, in the music business, my peers.
I'm also a Jones.
It was on
Keep Up.
Every single one. Battle Cat, every artist, every producer, every actor, every actress. I mean, Quincy got around. Like, he met people. Like, even to the last day, even Jermaine was telling me last night, even like those guys, like even Ray Charles, a week out from his death was having meetings with Jermaine and everybody else, telling them game, before he went. But that's just how those guys operated. To answer your question now, yeah, I think it's royally fucked up, because here is somebody that gave you entertainment and made you happy, and not only shared game, but met with every artist of every background, from Kendrick to Charlie Puth. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter if you were coming up to Mia, when you were coming up, he'd find you on the radar and he'd
Right.
find a way to meet you. You know what I mean? That's how Quincy was. And to give us entertainment and enjoyment from Duke Ellington and you know, those days, going back to vaudeville and the Chitlins and Ray Charles and all of that.
50 years.
You know,
Plus.
I mean, and speaking of 50 years, he did Thriller when he was 50 years old. So think about all of the work before that, the Frank Sinatras, the Sammy Davis Jr.'s, the, you know, just Ella, you know, I mean, so many different artists, Bob Dylan. I mean, he worked with We Are the World, like, you know, Bruce Springsteen. He worked with everyone.
Right.
You know,
I felt like the world should have damn near stopped for
Yes.
a day.
yes.
I don't give a fuck if the election was going on.
If it was
or
up
not.
to
Like,
me,
honestly,
I would
felt
have
like
called school out and today is a national day of mourning because a national treasure has died.
A national American treasure.
I thought he was BSing for a minute. That's how crazy it was. Because I was like, I don't see this anywhere. What is he
I
talking
know
about?
our business type. If you noticed, I didn't even really post that day.
Right.
You know, like my whole. I mean, it was
that's crazy though. It's just
the
that's really
world
odd.
stopped for us.
And I'm just gonna let y'all know, y'all record folks that didn't do anything. Yeah, y'all.
Well, you know
We're
what?
still on
Really,
the
I
same
did
week.
notice. What about the record company? I didn't see one like from Sony or anything like that. Some big like statement or something. I mean, he
I
built
didn't see the radio
Sony.
station say anything either.
Like Columbia and I mean Epic and all of that was built off of Thriller. Like their biggest selling album of all, the biggest selling album of all time, like created, not only did it break the color lines of MTV and allow urban artists to be played on MTV by,
Talk to him.
I mean, Michael was the
insane.
bridge,
That's
you know,
insane.
and Quincy stood up to the greatest artists of all time. Like when Michael wanted to take out the freaking violins,
yeah.
you know, I mean, and
The
Don't
We
Stop
Are
Till
the
You
World
Get
doc.
Yeah.
Also, there's a great doc for you guys to watch. The We Are the World doc.
oh yeah.
Thank God for Quincy.
For sure.
I mean, and Quincy, and also I got to shout out QD3. I mean, his son QD3 has been a personal mentor of mine. And I mean, my favorite record of all time is To Live and Die in L.A. You know, I mean, that just as rap records.
Right.
You know, I mean, another one is Human Nature. You know what I mean? So the Jones family has given me some of the best moments of my life and goosebumps of my life when I hear songs come from them. You know, so I mean, to know QD3, and I talked to him on Friday right before, you know, the Monday. And we were talking about union stuff, and we're talking about, you know, the coalition of all of us producers getting together, and he's like telling me of all this content that him and his dad have. And I didn't even process that's Quincy fucking Jones.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when he's like, yeah, Dad and I got, but, you know what I mean? I'm like sitting there going like, and then Monday when it happened, it was personal because that's my friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and QD3, if you don't know him, is you would never know that he's QD fucking 3. You know what I mean? Because his humility is at a level. Like, that's kind of who I've modeled myself personally after. Is if you want to talk about integrity and you want to talk about just an all-around good guy who's always only thinking about the craft and how to make it better for the people around him, it's QD3.
That's awesome.
Definitely respect.
Sorry to go off on a tangent.
No,
I
no,
do
no.
that sometimes.
No problem. I also want to throw the statement out there. I always used to tell artists this, and I still subscribe. There are no rules, just innovation
Yes.
in the music industry, in the entertainment industry. So for those that were able to break down the barriers, and for those that used kudos to those that broke down the barriers, and I ain't gonna say no curse words, but you know, STFU for those that, you know, the building barriers and making these unnecessary rules, and just not only, I mean, we all kind of lived by them, but some folks held up some rules. I remember being early in the industry, it was like you can't rap on another beat that sound like another beat. You can't sound like another artist. There was so many, oh, you can't do this, you're not supposed to do this. And to see artists like Soulja Boy, to see Jermaine Dupri, to see just so many different Quincy Jones break these barriers down and pave a whole new road for so many creatives along the way is, just a beautiful thing to be a part of. And that's kind of why I do what I do as far as helping new artists find their sound and find their purpose in this game.
It's always discovery.
Right.
Definitely.
Every day is discovery.
Speaking of discovery, you had said something that you sent executives, or you sent your peers Dear Mama to give them just a taste of what fine hip-hop, fine music is. What are some records currently that you would send if I've never heard hip-hop and you would like to introduce some current records in the last 5 years?
That's tough because, like I said, I was out for or I was in rural Louisiana for 5 years before I got back in January. So I missed a lot. And then before that, I was out for 15 years, and just taking care of grandma, being a full-time caregiver. So I missed a lot of records. I'm catching up on a lot of records.
Okay, well, I'll accept. Name a few other records other than Dear Mama that you would send someone to introduce them to hip-hop.
To Live and Die in L.A. It's like that. The Breaks. The Show.
It's like that. Run DMC.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
just to be clear.
Well, I'd give him a time capsule.
Just to be clear, because like that, Kendrick Lamar and Future. Shout out to the Grammy.
No, but I would send that too. You know what I mean? Like, I would go. It's like if you could, the quintessential rap record that anyone could relate to is Dear Mama, because everyone has a mama. Yeah. Everybody has gone through at least one of those feelings that he discussed. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and can relate to it. Then I would start breaking it out. You know what I mean? Like, there are staple records through our timeline that changed the course of pop music and rap music. You Can't Touch This. Even Ice Ice Baby.
I was gonna say that name.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's records through our timeline that literally diverted the.
Back that ass up.
Yep.
Gotta give it to him.
I mean,
it'll never. I don't think it could ever die.
Hi, My Name Is
a 21-year-old young lady in the club last night that said, "Could you please play back that ass up before I leave?" I'm like, "Yo, this is never gonna die. Yeah. This record's never gonna die. It's just generation after generation of ass shakers are gonna love this record forever." You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
it's
so
kind of
and I appreciate that.
Yeah, but it's kind of a trick question because it depends on the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the old rockers.
Now you're talking like a DJ.
Yeah, I mean, you got to work the crowd. But to say that on the DJ's behalf that's always been my mentality. Is I started as a DJ, so I'm always thinking of the audience. So treating radio like that is the same thing that I did. I was just reading the crowd through the request lines and the research and being out in the streets, and then I'd use everything as a compass, not a roadmap. You know what I mean? And if people move, then you play it again.
There you go.
You could play Back That Ass Up twice in a club in a night
in a row,
if it works.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
how long are you here till Monday by chance? Or
I'm
no?
out tomorrow.
Man, I would love to invite you to Coalition Music Mondays one of these days over at Stankonia, man. That would be amazing.
Love it.
You'll
especially
be able to see
there.
a lot of new stuff. Yeah, you get all the nostalgia walking through. Like the plaques are on the wall. The what do you call the things?
Now that
the posters
synergy
that they used to put out.
See that synergy.
That's on the wall.
The fact that you have it there, and the DJs are meeting there, and the artists make music there, and you know what I mean. It's so. That's synergy, hip-hop, mentorship, and hip hop shit right there.
Big shout out to Coalition DJs, Big X, you know what I'm saying? DJ Funky, the whole squad, the whole team, man. I love y'all guys, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? So
now we talked about the essence of hip hop. We got a little bit of the history, and we're on the time crunch, so I want to just shoot the shit about some important facts that may help some artists learn and have some knowledge out of this podcast. I want to ask, do you think that artists have to sign to a major in today's music climate?
I think the statement, "Do you think an artist has," is the problem with the music business. An artist thinking that they have to do anything is what's wrong with our business and the narrative. Making artists think that they need anything else than their talent to move forward is the problem with our business. Because if you know that saying that was in the Wayne's World stuff, if you build them, they will come.
Correct.
You know, like on the Instagram thing, hitting that button and saying shit. Well, do I need to hire? I've never bought an ad. You know, I've never boosted a post. You know, any of those kind of things. Just consistently be myself, and then people will come to your music. It's when you do those promotions and have it to sign to a major or get on the radio unorganically and early by paying a DJ to do it or whatever, you fly over people's heads. There's no organics to that. And I don't think an artist needs anything but their talent and their mouth so that they can tell people what their story is, and then letting the story be your guide. Follow the momentum of, you know, this person. It's like back to the DJ thing. You play a record, you see who's dancing, you go, oh, that's a fan. So I need to find more people like that. Who do you hang out with? You know what I'm saying? Where do you hang out? What clubs do you go to? And then going to those places and trying to spread it out of that. And that's what I think the artist needs more, is the mentality of following natural momentum. You know, the label has dripped this, the majors and corporations have dripped this "you need me" into the system to keep you there. Like, look at your cell phone right now. Right. Everything that we do on the internet or socials or all of this is nothing more than to keep you on the device. And the reason why they want to keep you on that device is as long as you're on that device, then they can pull the data, charge somebody for that data, and they can push advertising to you, and hopefully you consume it.
Yeah.
So they keep you on the device long enough with the entertainment to get you to buy something.
Right.
And they tell you everything else associated with any other human being. You should make Zoom calls because you need to stay on this device. You social distancing because you need to stay on this device.
Right.
You know, white people bad because you need to stay on this device. Black people bad because you need to stay on this device. World War III, don't go outside, stay on this device.
So,
you know, because that's what corporate America has done to us.
Some real Black Mirror shit there.
Well, I mean, think about it. You know, with COVID and everything, right? They dumped $7 trillion into the economy. What did it do? Like a vacuum cleaner went all up into these corporations, right? Yeah. And then after COVID, they had blockbuster months during COVID and all of this money going into the system. How did they sustain that? How did they not have a market crash right after it?
Right. That was interesting.
And how did they keep the stock prices up and the profits up after an abnormal time period of just money flying in from everywhere? What did they have to do? They had to cut. They had to figure out how to reconfigure a whole system so that it wouldn't crash.
They gathered data and then executed a new plan.
Yeah. And that's where we're at.
I'll say hip-hop suffered heavily from that, though, I will say, because it turned it into what we were trying to resist, I feel like. I think right before COVID happened, we were in a moment of resistance where the clubs were still popping. You
got to remember something about, sorry to interrupt, about hip-hop and about rock and alternative. They are incubated in urban communities and minority communities and rural communities. They're not done in metros. Right. Most of the people in metropolises are on cell phones, have 5G, all of this. But as you start getting into rural America, like I came from Logansport, Louisiana, with 200 people. If there was a cloud in the sky, we didn't get internet. We didn't get direct TV. We only got radio. Do you see what I'm saying? 96% of Americans still listen to radio. Only 26% of Americans in inner cities and low-income areas have data plans on their cell phones. They're not sitting on TikTok all day. When they get in their FedEx truck to go to work or UPS truck to go to work, it's not
the radio.
it's the radio. Yeah. It's not the phone. When you go into a clothing store, a liquor store, in any minority city or any low-income area, it's radio. You go out of the United States to Belize, India, any of these third world countries, or even some that are on our level, it's still radio. But the device is telling you radio is bad to keep you on the device. And they're dictating a narrative to radio of what's hot and what's not, and taking the money out of radio. So radio can't program, radio can't hire talent, radio can't sustain itself because tech is trying to destroy radio. Even though on every Samsung phone, there's an FM radio chip, but no API. Okay. So you could literally make the jump to the device with radio, but the device doesn't want you to do that.
Yeah, it never shows you,
because
never
it can't own the data and control the advertising.
Okay.
Because radio does its own advertising. But that's my problem with radio right now, is if radio were to evolve to the device, then we'd be okay.
But that's another one of those things of making the artist feel like this is a thing that's needed, because at one point that's what radio was doing, and it kind of alienated itself.
How you feel about iHeart though? I feel like
iHeart is the most cost redundant piece of junk you've ever seen. I hate to say it like that, because and look, they just had all of these cuts because of that. Look, you have what? How many radio stations do they have? Let's just say 1,000. We'll just round it down up, whatever the heck it is. You have 1,000 radio stations. That means you have 1,000 general managers. You have 1,000 program directors. You have 1,000 music directors. You have 5,000 DJs. You have, you know what I mean? Like, it's redundant like that. Now, say for instance, if I were to have a radio station, right? I would evolve it in a way where you would be able to cut all of those costs, but still retain the people for different jobs and evolve the radio. See, okay, let me explain it like this. So I'm being cryptic because I just don't want to give away the plan.
Understood.
But what I'm
sold, not told.
No, I'm not that. It's just I don't want to sell it to iHeart.
True.
Yeah.
So that they do it in a way that's exploitive to artists.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do it and do it right, I'll give them the formula for free.
I feel that.
I'll show them how to do it. I'll go up there and do it for you. You don't even have to pay me.
Just invite me to the Zoom call.
You know what I mean? Like, just let's do this right and empower. But that's why it's so funny to me is these record companies, these big conglomerates, there's a whole audience you're missing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And not just that, but the product that you're selling right now could be 20 times more valuable for everybody. Everybody could make more money. The record companies would be happy. Radio would be happy. Spotify would be happy. Apple would be happy. Everybody would be happy if they just worked together.
Damien,
Greed,
it sounds
man.
like you know that they have a solution, but this whole transition and this whole narrative of imploding on itself is maybe a
More
bit
important?
self-inflicted.
Yeah. And here's the thing. It's the Goonies. You know the movie The Goonies?
Hey, you guys.
Yeah, everybody's got a piece of the map. But no
Right.
one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you just
Nobody
came
wanna
together
share.
and split the pot,
Right.
everybody be rich.
Right.
But instead, I want it all.
And they're probably going to let it die in the process. They're going to end
And
up
the
dying off.
egos. And the egos of there's no way that a record company would abandon its main mantra and goal for this whole time is to exploit artists' said works and make profit off of it. You're the bitch, you're the hoe, I'm the pimp.
Yeah.
And that's what the labels have been. But now in this day and time, there's an opportunity to be the future,
the savior,
and bring it together. But they're so arrogant,
the oracle,
that they just don't want to work with anyone.
Somebody got to be the one. Somebody got to go plug into the matrix so we could all live in a harmonious, music creative, monetary world in the future.
I hope you make that into a viral clip. That's one of the best things I ever said. And that other clip where you said, about the gospel, those two clips, we need those in our life.
Just a few more questions,
yes,
and we'll get up out of here because this is just so much fun, so much things to learn from. And again, you
see me watching the clock. I got to get out of here.
You are loads of information.
No, please. I'm having such a good time.
But
don't
just a couple of more. So, what about the state of music culture right now grinds your gears?
What part of say that?
What about the state of music culture today grinds your gears
the most?
I don't know where to start.
Don't go too deep. Just give me something simple. It's something on the surface.
Treated.
How artists are treated.
The manipulation.
The fact that Chino XL, rest in peace, took his own life because he didn't have health insurance and didn't want to leave his family in debt. That grinds my gears.
I can feel that.
Yes,
and that's why I've been on this union kick. That one of the secrets, and I'll just let it out the bag, one of the reasons why I went to go see Jermaine last night was to drum up support for the union. Right. And I need him behind it. So I went to go tell him where I'm at with it, where we're at with it, and say we need you.
Okay.
Have you done, I guess I'll talk to you about that.
Let's talk off the air because let's just say this. We have almost 1 million people behind us.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say whatever support you need from me.
But that's what's
DJs
crazy. We've got almost 1 million people.
That's lit.
Behind us. And they don't even know how or why. And they're not going to know until it hits if they don't play the game. But I'm telling you this right now, I am not playing with this one. And in my career, if you've watched my trajectory, when my mind is set on something, I do not fuck around. And when one of my friends dies over some stupid shit, and Chino was my friend, because of something so arrogant and just to oppress people, especially artists and creatives that do nothing but serve, you fucked around and you're going to find out.
That's real.
You can tell that this is a man on a mission. And, and I appreciate the gift that you're giving to the game.
Just one too far, homie.
Okay, so to close out, I want to ask.
You're like, shut the fuck up now. You're done too much. No. You're going to get us banned too. You get shadow banned now. You try to pass on some of that ban to us.
Hey, look, like I was telling you, man, we do this podcast not for the clicks, not for the likes, not for the fame and all of that crap. We're doing this to give people some of the real. From the real people themselves. I don't know nothing else. So that's
you don't get a filter with me.
What artist would you say right now, just a few, that you feel is doing it right?
The appearance of doing it right.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because what else do people know? Kendrick is the only one out there doing it right in rap.
Okay.
Drake is the only one out there doing it right in rap. Okay. Regardless of, but it's all record company shit. It's pitting these guys against each other and monetizing it. You know what I mean? But look at where we've gotten to. I mean, one rapper's calling one a the other one's calling them. What is it? It degrades our culture.
Yeah.
And I just can't believe
it's a sideshow. They're trying to turn
look at Kendrick as an artist and how profound he is. I was disappointed on one level that he would sink to that level. But it's some rap b-boy shit at the same time. So I'm like, you know what I mean?
It was fun.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Though.
It was fun, but the pedophile line and stuff like that, I mean, bro, unless you know and have facts and that's proven, look at what's happening with Diddy. You know what I mean? Whatever. Believe it, don't believe it, whatever. You've got this one lawyer in Texas and the other lawyer in New York that was doing the Little Rod shit. Okay, well, nothing came out of that Little Rod shit.
Right.
And he made a lot of accusations and hurt a lot of people. Now there's this one in Texas, and you've got this guy who's in jail. Weinstein wasn't in jail waiting trial, and he had real
stuff going on.
stuff going on like that. But then you have a black billionaire,
Epstein
you know what
same
I'm
way.
saying, that just called racism on a $1 billion company. And they're saying, well, we're going to enact our morality clause and get out of this bill because you're in jail. Like, how did Homeland Security get involved in a trafficking raid?
Now I'm getting worried because Damien knows. Damien be knowing.
No, it's the truth, though. That's the game. And what I'm saying is who's doing it right? Who can do it right?
In a game like this.
In a game like this that's rigged.
Can't fly that close to the sun.
And that's what I'm saying is as artists, as producers, we do have the power because he who controls the content is king. But the problem is they fragmented us just like the American people they fragmented and caused this divisiveness and keep us at each other so that we don't link up. Because the power is in the people. But if you can dilute messages and dilute the people's will and keep them separated and passive, give them weed. Let them be high in a corner. They'll stay docile. You know what I'm saying? Clicking up is the issue.
And they're going to do whatever they can to stop that. And
fuck yes. But that's the problem with music. Music is a unity device.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's the biggest Trojan horse in the world. You get a bunch of people to look at Moscow in the 80s. Remember when Metallica did Red Square?
Woodstock.
1.5 million people came to rock out to a free concert because they could. Didn't matter what the music was. They wanted to get together and rock out.
You definitely are what's needed in the game today. I appreciate just having the ability to have this conversation.
Anytime.
And I appreciate the fact that you get online every day and share information like this. What, besides this union and besides giving game, what else are you working on in 2025? What you got coming?
I am luckily going back in the studio next week and starting to make beats again, playa.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't done a DaMizza Presents, like a full-blown, all-effort, sober, ready-to-go project since Where I Want to Be with Nate Dogg, rest in peace, and Corrupt. And I want to go back in, and that project was signed to MS Broadcasting. It was signed to the radio station. So Shade Shice was signed to Power 106.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't know that. So it was my job to do it. This is going to be me going in the studio and having fun and getting the young cats and, the old cats and, the seasoned cats and all of us together and documenting it for one.
Right.
And making beats and taking people along the ride of what it takes to do a record.
Yes.
How are we going to promote it? If I need to call someone and be like, hey, Jermaine, how did you do this thing with the TikTok thing? Tell me, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to document all of those conversations. And what he was saying last night is there's no way to sit there and show people how to do it. Oh, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And we're going to put it in volumes and make it happen.
Especially if you're doing it. The best way to show someone is, by the action of doing it. And, and just by giving them an example. And that's what I try to do. I try to be a living example of what I believe is the right ways of doing it in media and doing it in hip-hop and just spreading, again, the gospel and turning the gossip to rhythm and to a motivating medium, as we said earlier. I've so much enjoyed this opportunity, Damien.
Thank you so much.
So did I.
Much, bro. Thank you so much.
Hell of a guys.
And,
Hell of a guys.
and 2025,
D&D.
2025 is a mysterious year ahead, but
this is the year that all will be revealed. 2025. That's what the rumor is.
I'm clipping that. That's what I'm clipping.
so get ready, buckle up your seatbelts. We coming out there to California, man.
Please do.
Yeah, we
have another conversation.
Southern California hospitality.
For sure.
Because I still got some more questions, and I'm gonna get some more in the future. I already know it. If you need to follow, well, not if. if you are in the music industry or you're an entrepreneur, this is a guy that you need to follow. This is a brain that you need to tap in with. And again, I appreciate the transparency and the openness to give this game and to pass along the mentorship. You talked about being mentored by some of the greats and some of the legends in the game at an early age. And no matter what the age that we are blessed to acquire, still giving back to the game is something that is something that ought to be done more often and ought to be talked about. So salute to you.
Thank you.
Any shout-outs that you have before you? Any shout-outs or projects or anything you want to shout out before you leave?
I'm happy to be here for the Independent Filmmakers Weekend. I thank Ray for having me out here and bringing me out here, and their hospitality has been amazing. Awesome. I get to travel every once in a while, but this is the most classiest operation that I've worked with. As far as, from the second that it was done, it was like the flights, the picking up at the airport, shuttling me here, the events, having Amazon involved. It's been A-class. And I appreciate you guys coming and, them being flexible enough to say, yeah, use the hotel room, do as many podcasts as you want.
Nice.
We'll even help you get to some of these places. And just being supportive. I appreciate it. So shout out to Ray and everybody over there at the Independent Filmmakers deal.
Nice.
So we're gonna put the all of the information is already on the screen. It's in the podcast description. This is the Word on the Net podcast with a legend in the game, record promoter, radio exec, and
thank
producer.
You guys for what you're doing.
And he's back in the lab. DaMizza presents.
And the Polish DJ
is coming soon, man. So again, DJ Deceptacon, I'm Dame Dozha. This is the Word on the Net podcast, and we out.
Let's go smoke some weed.
You did.
Now I can smoke. I'm gonna fall asleep.